live. We are live.
Good morning. Good morning. Just doing a quick text here, letting people know that we are on. I'm just gonna go on the Facebook page now just to make sure. Yep, we are on. So just want to give a nice good morning to everyone. More people should be joining in. Okay. This beautiful Saturday morning. We are from California, so our weather today is going to be hot. Sorry about that. Making sure to have that on. Okay. So good morning. Today is our day 2 of our first series of understanding trauma. Yesterday we had our guest speaker Patty. Today we will have another guest speaker, Cece. I'll be giving more information about her soon. But just so everyone understands the schedule, we're right now is our welcoming. We will be doing a quick meditation before getting started, and then I will be introducing our guest speaker, which will be speaking from 8:15 to 8:45. And then from 8:45 to 9, it'll be a quick little conclusion and a transition from Facebook Live to private Zoom session. And I highly recommend, if you didn't join in via Zoom yesterday, to join in today. A lot of our participants got nice exercises. They had some issues addressed, and not, just tools for them to be able to start their journey on healing trauma. And like I was mentioning earlier in my Facebook Live, it doesn't matter if it's something small or something big. These tools are helpful for any kind of trauma, period. So even if you feel like, oh, it's not a big deal, still join in. You might be surprised of something that you learn, or something surfaces that you didn't realize it's kind of still there that you need to address. So join in, get some very much healing, because at the moment, like I stated, my husband and I, in our therapy sessions, we've been dealing with a lot of clients dealing with trauma. And it's been a unique experience for both of us, because it's kind of like, wow, there's a lot going on right now. 2020 has been tough. 2021 still seems to be really rough. It has a lot of rough edges to it. So we have a lot of clients that we've been helping through their trauma. And so that's how this course came about, because of what we were experiencing with our current clients. A lot of old trauma resurfacing, new trauma with what's going on. There's just a lot. And so we want to make this series as a way to help all of those to be able to transition, to shift, change their perspective on trauma. At the moment, it's not fun. But like I said yesterday, out of every negative, there's a positive. So that's the good news on all this. So make sure to join in Zoom. My husband, if you could put the link on the comments, it will be there if you're watching through Facebook.
Yep,
And
I'll be doing that in a moment. But like she said, again, we're also sharing tools that we use almost on a daily. Even myself, I'll share more about my story tomorrow. But I've been out of the military since 2010, 2011. And even then, I'll still get triggered. Even though for this past 10, 11 years, I've been using some form of healing tool to deal with my PTSD, along with other traumatic experiences from the military. And again, they'll flare up. And that's why I'm so grateful to have my wife to be my better half to notice when I'm about to spiral down, and she just kind of stops me and say, "Wake up." She'll ask me a series of questions. Again, we'll get into that tomorrow. And me personally, again, I use these tools on the daily or when those moments come up to kind of go through those 4 steps.
Okay. So again, we are Dual Dragons, my husband JB and myself Rebecca. We are holistic wellness consultants. We're also known as the Muscle Whisperers. And the reason why a lot of our clients call us that way is because we really talk to the muscles. The muscles give us the story of whatever trauma, pain is experiencing, and we're able to kind of really use the muscles as a map for your body. The way we work is we work with energetic. We also have my husband channels. I'm an empath. I'm a natural empath. So the minute I'm touching you or just even connecting with you via Zoom, I will start feeling everything you're feeling. Whatever pain's going on in your body. I've had clients experiencing headaches and nausea that I was not aware of. And all of a sudden in the middle of the session, I'm experiencing nausea and headaches. And so I've practiced the tools where right away I'll stop and I'll be like, is this mine? No, it's not mine. Okay, I need to send it off because it's not mine to take, because it's so easy to take those things on and then yourself spiral downwards. So I always make sure, like in an airplane, I put that oxygen mask on myself first before I continue the healing journey with that client. And we do that a lot, my husband and I. Well, I'll notice something and we're attaching too much to it. Oh, we got to detach, because it's not healthy for us to attach to that. We're there to guide our clients to go through their healing journey. It's not our job to join them, so that's very important. And so that's how we work on the body. We do not do the massage like the spotlight, the lotion and, the music and undressing. That's not how we work. Our clients show up in workout gear, and sometimes we have to have them sit up, and we'll take out our healing bowls, or sometimes we're addressing those muscles. We're holding that muscle and addressing whatever trauma that muscle went through. Sometimes we're stretching them. Sometimes we're having them stand up and, do certain movements for their bodies to re-educate them and to get them flowing again and moving again. A lot of our clients, some of them come in, limping, not being able to walk. And by the time we're done with them, they could finally stand up. They can finally sit without pain. So those are the things that we deal with. And a lot of them are just not just physical, that it's physical, emotional, spiritual, trauma. We deal with all those levels. So there's our information. And let me just check my time.
And again, like we said, we're just there to kind of help you set that safe space for you to kind of unravel what is that you need to address. And we'll do our best to provide you with all the tools that we've worked with that help us, so that you could start doing the self-work yourself and really get tremendous work in the sense of your healing journey itself.
And I think that's the part where that's why I wanted to start with understanding trauma, because understanding it changes your perception of why this is happening to me. Yesterday my husband brought up when we got off, like, are you going to bring up all your traumatic experiences? I'm like, no, the only one I could think of was the one I brought up yesterday, of the physical trauma I went through, my near-death experience and the pain and, that duality still that I deal with till this day, where, when I was gone and I was in that beautiful space, whatever it is, heaven, I don't know what it is, but it was beautiful. Sometimes I wish I'm still there, and that's the trauma that sometimes I experience where, it would be nice to transition, but, I have things to do here. I have a job still to finish. I have a contract still to finish. The contract of my life is not done. And so that's what I consider trauma for myself at the moment. Yes, there's many other stories that I've been through, but they're just positive now because of those traumas. I don't view them as trauma anymore because I've gained so much positive out of them that for me they're just phases. I see them now like this when you walk into Six Flags and you see these extreme roller coaster rides and you're like, I don't know about those rides. Well, that one looks pretty scary there. And then, but I rode them. And and at the end they were fun. Yes, it was scary at first. Yes, at first I was like, I don't know. You're holding your breath. You're at the top of that dip and you're looking way down and you're like, whoa. And then you go down and then you loop and things happen and you're spiraling and you're all over the place. But then boom, it's over. You're out of it. You got through it. And then you get off and you're like, wow, that was a fun ride. So that's how I view most of my traumas now. Like, that was a fun ride. I got a positive out of it. I've moved on, and I don't look back at them with that sadness anymore. I look back at them and it was like, it was a fun ride. It wasn't fun during the ride, but at the end of it, I got a positive out of it. So that's how I view trauma now. And so that's what I'm hoping to share, just to kind of give that lightness, to be able, like yesterday I expressed in our private Zoom, to put it in a box, put all that trauma in a box. If it's too much for you, put it in a box and then slowly pull it out when you can address it, where it's not too overwhelming. Look at it, embrace it, make it, you could decorate your box to make it look more beautiful each time. Eventually that box, the more you take it out and put it away, take it out, put away, it starts getting smaller. It starts weighing less on your hand, on your body, to the point where it'll turn into like an urn. And then you could just throw those ashes in the ocean eventually one day. And that's the goal, for you to be able to release it on your own, and then it gives you that teaching, that lesson, that experience that you needed to be able to move on and live a better life for yourself. Because the whole purpose of living life is to live your life to the fullest. That new movie Soul that's out on Disney, perfect movie, perfect example of what our life is meant to be. It's the simplest form of joy, enjoying life. So if you haven't watched it, watch it. So with that, let's just do a quick little meditation like what we did yesterday. Everyone just take a couple of deep, make sure to do belly breaths. I just took a chest breath right now. A way of doing that is I'll put a hand on my heart and a hand on my belly, and I make sure that only the hand on my belly is going up and down as I breathe deeply. You don't want the hand on your chest moving. That one should stay. Now we're going to scan our body. You start at the feet. Just kind of feel it to the ankle. Scan up to the knees. From your knees to your hip. Keep breathing nice and deep into those areas. Now we're going to go up the spine to out through our rib cage, up our sternum, which is right here in front of your chest, in front of your heart, through the collarbones to our shoulders, down to our elbows, down to our wrists and hands. Now we're going to go back up through our hands to our neck, our jaw to finish with our skull. And as you were scanning your body, notice those little areas of discomfort and just say, thank you, body, for making me aware. I will be addressing you soon with ease and joy. And take a couple of deep breaths within those spots that you noticed in your body. And as you slowly come out, oh, there it is. I had to stop share because I couldn't find the slide I needed. There we go. There we are. So now I want to introduce our next guest speaker, Cece Converse. And she is a divine spiritual guidance, psychic, intuitive consultant, certified coach, Kabbalah teacher. And I met Cece through a mutual friend, Susan, and she also knows another mutual friend, Patty. So it's a small world how we've all met. And she is wonderful. You know, we still have to meet one day. She's out in, where are you located, Cece?
I'm in Nebraska.
Nebraska, yes.
Yeah.
So I still need to be able to meet you physically, but you've been wonderful through Zoom, through our phone conversations. And this is why I have her. She did one of our previous courses where she was a guest speaker, and her story really resonated with me. And that's why I have her here today, you know, for her to share her story. And hopefully we all learn a lot from her and you enjoy her as much as I did. And I still do. I love hearing you talk and what you share and what we talk. You know, our conversations are very in-depth and they're really helpful. So with that, I'm going to hand over the microphone and I'm going to stop share. Oops. There we go.
Awesome. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, and thank you for being here today. I'm very pleased and honored to be here today to speak on this subject. It's a subject that's very near and dear to my heart and in my life. So yes, as she said, I'm a psychic intuitive. I've been a psychic intuitive since I was a kid. And this has been a gift that was given me and it's been well used, I can tell you, and it helped me survive a lot of my trauma. So I'm also a certified coach, and I work with a lot of men and women who have had trauma in their lives to help them access their resilience and create the life that they really want to live and be in joy and happiness. So a lot of my work is informed by my experiences and my training. And as you know, the subject states, so I won't get too heavy, I hope, but I am a childhood abuse survivor. My family was a pretty violent family. At 15, I was, 16, excuse me, I was kidnapped by an ex-boyfriend and held for 6 months. A lot of trauma there, rape, mental and physical abuse. And those are just two very heavy traumas. And then there's all the other lifetime trauma that we've had, which I'll speak about in a bit. Trauma is something that we all have, and as children, back when I was growing up, it wasn't really considered trauma. It was just the way people raised their children. Yet my family took it to a heightened degree. So uh, so I think the first thing that I want to share is that with trauma, sometimes you don't even know you're in trauma because you're in a situation that is just been the norm. And Beck and I were talking about this a little bit earlier, is that when we're in an experience, we think it's just the normal everyday stuff until we go over, like I did when I was a child. I would start visiting my friends and having dinner with their mom and dads. And when I realized that they weren't like my mom and dad, I started processing that as a child, 10, 12, 15 years old, and realizing that mine aren't like yours. And I'd rather have yours than mine. So I think the biggest story I can tell is that when I was like at 10 years old, I was so upset by realizing that my family wasn't like other people's families. And I wanted to leave. And so I had basically my own near-death experience. As you know, I begged and begged and begged the universe, God, spirit, whoever we call it, to take me. And what happened is that afternoon, this is an all-day event, by the way, that afternoon, an angel appeared to me, what we would call an angel. And I was stunned, closed my eyes, and where I had seen her thumb was her hand. It was huge. And I lifted up my hand, and my hand was huge. And I'm like, oh my God. And we were just expanded out into the universe. And I was gone, in quotes, for hours, because it was nighttime by the time I realized I was walking in my room. And I was shown a lot of things that I can't recall these days, but I knew that time that I had a purpose. There's something that I had to do, something that no one else was going to do but me. And so I started moving through my life. And then I had the kidnap. And when I returned, I went back to normal life, and I packed all of that stuff down, like Rebecca said, in the box. And the more I experienced, the more I put in this box, and it got deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And in certain situations, things would start showing up again. And you go, where did that come from? Like, our brain doesn't, sometimes won't even hold on to that. So life brings us traumas. And I realized at one point in time that we are really resilient. And resilience is probably the biggest key to trauma, is pulling on those resources that we have, ourselves, our families, our friends, our teachers, our doctors, if we use doctors, and our spirituality. So I believe that everything we experience is eventually going to give us the wisdom and the capability and the capacity to handle what comes next, number one. And if we are in service to our clients and to the public, it helps us be able to be more compassionate with people who are going through trauma or who are having experiences that we've never had. So it's a key. The other thing that trauma does, or even let's just call them experiences, it shows us the duality we live in, right? And we see that over there's an experience, someone just got in a car accident, and I witnessed that. And it can either trigger my own trauma, or it can create a trauma inside because of fear. Emotions create like an experience that actually causes a mass of energy to be held in our body. Rebecca and JB work with that, which is so beautiful. I wish I were where they were. So lots of clients, I could refer to them. And so as these accumulate in our body, they eventually get too much for that area of the body and pain occurs. So things like, pain, disease. For me, I had a back injury back in like 1990. And that was the accumulation of all of the trauma that I had had in my life. I couldn't walk for a year. I had another extremely spiritual experience then when all of my guides and guardians came back and said, you can't ignore us any longer, which I had been, because I packed everything away. And so I could not ignore it. So the first key to trauma is awareness. It's like when you become aware of the pain, when you become aware of the memory. So during that time of awareness, they gave me a year. There was a lot of awareness to be experienced in that year. And I became aware that my spirituality was the most important thing. My intuition was the most important gift that I had for myself in the world. And that sent me on a journey to study anything and everything I can about spirituality, metaphysics, about self-love, positivity, can-do attitude. And it taught me that, we can work through a ton of things if we only are willing to simply take a look at things. So using that metaphor of the box, so when things show up, they sort of pop out of the box like a jack in the box. And it pops up and you're like, oh, there you are. Right? So if my body's reacting to it, I might just sort of put that jack in the box back in the box and just say, okay, I know you're there. I'll deal with you when I can. And then it'll pop up again, maybe. And so maybe I'll have to put it back a couple of times. And I learned that I can move myself out of the situation that is currently causing me trauma. I can hang up the phone. I can walk away, right? And I can then take a few deep breaths and just be with whatever it is. I don't have to like it. I don't have to love it at this moment, but I can be with it. And the more that I'm with it, witnessing it, I can then start to understand what it is within myself that is responding, reacting, whatever's going on. And then I can gain wisdom from it. So when traumas come up, when we are triggered, that's your body informing you something's not right. We need to look at something, which is the most important thing. Yet how often do we ignore that? Who all ignores their inklings? Or who all is aware of their inklings? Like post that in the chat, if you will. And those little inklings, those little or big ahas, those are important. Like I would encourage all of you, when you have those ahas, write them down on a big piece of paper, hang them on the wall so you see them. Or not, hang them someplace, but don't let them go away. Keep them, those ahas, keep them front and foremost, as they will inform you when things happen again. And they will. But it's a gift of awareness. And when we can take that gift of awareness and be willing to go, oh, I just had a memory of my childhood. So it's something that I probably need to really look at. And then I journal that. And so I'll write that in my journal. And I have my notes to myself, I call it. And so when I start looking through those, I can remind myself that how resilient and how resourceful I am, and the wisdom that I've gained over the years. So awareness is the first step. So at this point, I'd like to make a couple of distinctions. So when we have emotions or we have feelings, most of us didn't choose to have those feelings. They just showed up. Would you agree to that? They just show up. So we sort of don't have a choice in that reaction in that moment. And again, they're informing us if something's not right, something's off a little bit. And so it gives us the opportunity to clear or not, depending on how you feel about it, to clear that emotion and understand that emotion. So our I forget, is it the reptilian brain is meant to give us that fight or flight feeling. And so usually that's the first place from which we react. And and then it can go through the upper brain, which understands what's going on at a deeper level. And then we can have choice. So our will, so the distinction is emotions versus will. Will is what we choose. Will is what we choose to do or not do in that moment. And so, so if I'm willing to just take a moment and allow that emotion to be there and say, oh, I have an emotion, like I'm thinking this actually, and I have an emotion, what's going on? So checking in with the body, because our body is so informing us, and we can make a choice. So I can feel it, I can assess it, and then I can respond to it. And as those memories and those feelings come up, at a certain point, what I had to do over the years is to choose to start working with somebody that could help me more understand at a deeper level what was really going on. So from my childhood trauma, my choice to try and leave, and the kidnap and rape, and I literally packed those down in a box, and it was probably 35, 40 years before I could actively speak about being kidnapped and raped and the experiences I had for those 6 months. So sometimes traumas take a long time to actually begin to be able to comfortably accept it. And that's another step of the healing, is accept it and then understand it for what it was. And know that it's not here right now, and that I can be present and I can be fully aware of what's going on with my life and my body. And that I'm not actually being kidnapped, raped, and traumatized in this moment. Every time you tell a story about that, and you have a charge in your body, or you get, revved up, your body feels like it's right there in the middle of that trauma. And you actually keep that trauma present in this moment. And the body feels that. Body doesn't distinguish between, 40 years ago and today. We do, in our brain we do, but our body doesn't. So when I work with my clients, I help them reduce the charge of the trauma, and to help them understand where that trauma is in their body. I have them talk to it. I have them love it. I walk them through a process, which I'll go through the steps here in a few minutes. But I help them really embrace what was going on. And it's all part of life. We live in a dual world. We're going to see the good and the bad. And, we can't know one without the other. We can't know love without knowing the other side of love. So when we're young, depending on your upbringing, you may have been taught to not feel your feelings. Most of the men of my era were taught, you can't cry. How many have had that experience? Yeah. And so men generally aren't processing their emotions. Women are meant to just suck it up and just keep going and going and going and going until they drop. Because if you do start showing your emotions, you're a wimp, or you're just an emotional, you're just a woman, you're a girl. Well, yes, I am a girl. So it's how we're taught to process emotion. We weren't allowed to really express our emotions. So when I express my emotions, I express it to spirit, to the angels, especially after I had that experience. You know, I talk to God all the time. Um, so, but in life, you know, we couldn't. So I totally suppressed things. So everyone's experience is different, right? So each one of us can probably tell a story about a trauma or an experience we had that we didn't like, and feel a charge in your body. And that charge is what, with my work, I work with people to reduce that charge so it's neutral. And when you come to neutral, then you can start really being able to express yourself at a deeper level. So this, the distinctions, feelings versus will. And let me know in the chat if you need further explanation of that. The other is we have information, which are facts, experiences. It's all head-based, versus understanding and wisdom. When understanding and wisdom develops over time. And that's one thing that you know we all have is time here. And take your time whenever you're dealing with any kind of traumas. Right? Give yourself permission to just have the time to process, to understand, to work with it. Understanding and wisdom is compassion. Right? It's being able to look at the big picture as well as the small details. It's understanding and wisdom can be based on decisions. Right? You make decisions around what happened. It's heart-based, and it's based in the truth of the universal truth, as opposed to, you know, my truth. This happened to me. That's my truth. You know, the universal truth is it's an experience that we had in this lifetime. So those are some of the distinctions. And again, when we relive the trauma by telling the story and we're charged, it reminds the body and mind that, you know, this is so right now, yet it's been in the past. So we can, you know, I invite everybody to be aware when that happens, to say, oh, that was how many years ago, right? Is that car right next to my car that hit me today? No. Right? Okay. Deep breath. Right? Lots of breathing. So again, each one of us has things have happened in our life that we haven't liked. So we all have some sort of trauma, and trauma generates emotions, and emotions, when not expressed, build up in the body. Right? So, and you know, if we can have a healthy response to it, if we can express it and go, okay, I'm done with that. Right? That's great. And like me, I've suppressed it and took that time to finally, even though it's, so it's in the box, so it was knocking on the box all those years. And so how that manifested for me was imposter syndrome. Like, here I am in a job as a project manager, but you know, if they knew how upset and nervous and scared and et cetera, I was inside of me, they'd probably fire me. And so we go through our lives and our jobs being afraid of the worst that's going to come, or for me, that's what I was looking at. And yet, you know, did great in the job. Right? So how I look at trauma when I'm working with somebody is, first of all, I invite them to ground, and also to ground that memory. And then recall the memory itself, looking at it from ground. So you can imagine it way down deep in the ground and go, oh yeah, that was a memory. So the further removed you can be from that memory, the better. And so there's also the next step of sensing it when you're ready. These are all when you're ready, by the way, step by step. You can sense it. So you can know where in my body, oh, for me, it's my back. When I get stressed, my back hurts. So I can sense that. Okay, so there it is. Putting your attention on it gives that part of your body awareness of what's going on, and naming it, right? Oh, that was the back injury. Oh, I tripped and fell yesterday, and that's what's going on. And then loving it. I just, giving it a big hug, sending loving energy, filling it with white light, pink light, blue light, whatever occurs to you that's best, and feel the experience of it, right? And then allow it to give you the message. Again, this is step by step. Sometimes this is a process that would take years. Sometimes you can do this in a session. So when you can receive the message, like, what's this about? What's the wisdom in this? And then share it. You make it real by speaking it. Once you make it real, it just pops into the universe. Right? Oh, that weight of the emotion is mass. Literally, it's mass. And once you release that, it's like we feel lighter, right? We feel lighter, we feel happier, we feel more joyful. And we can now allow that to just be, right? So one of my personal pet peeves is somebody that says, oh, just let that go. And I mean, that's a flippant statement, because it's not about letting it go. It's about really processing this, because this emotion, this experience is part of your timeline, right? You can't put it back. You can't unhave it. It's there, period. And you can gather the wisdom from it. You can know that it's an experience. You can know that your compassion that you've gathered for yourself, you can also express and give to somebody else, which is the biggest gift that you can give somebody: compassion and understanding. So literally the energy that we spend on holding that trauma, like, I'm experienced at that. I had 35, 40 years of doing that. Is the energy that it takes to hold that weight and that mass and that trauma is much greater than it is to work it and allow it to go, right? So my invitation is that we all can do that for our traumas that we have. So with that, is there any questions? Thank you, Rebecca.
You're welcome. So what I'll do is I'll do a quick recap before we go into questions, so that way we could go into private Zoom session. So again, she gave us other tools, awareness, what was it, grounding?
Mm-hmm.
Grounding, being able to see it from a distance, which is like what I call healthy boundaries. Building that healthy boundaries. So when you become aware of it, being able to break it down from a distance is much more easier than having it right here in your face. It's too overwhelming. So yes, almost like here in the mirror. This is another good tool. The picture here, you feel like this little kitty cat that's vulnerable. And then you have that trauma, that lion, that beast looking right back at you. This is too much. That could be overwhelming. But now let's just imagine pushing that mirror to a distance. Okay, I could handle it because it's like it's further away. It's tolerable. So that's why I like this picture. It's like seeing the beast in the eye. Sometimes it's scary, or sometimes it could be empowering, So awareness is breaking it down. being able to break it down, process it, see it for what it is, and get some understanding out of it, which will lead to interviewing it. Talk to it. It's I've experienced that where I talk to it, I'm like, okay, why do I have to go through this? Like, why did I have to go through all this trauma? Can't help me understand it. I have a beef to settle with you.
Yes, that's great.
I mean, you can do that. It's okay to have those emotions, you know, like, hey, why did I have to go through this? No, 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 no. I didn't want to go through that. It's okay to kind of like question it and be like, why me? It's okay. Because out of the why me, you will get that answer you needed. And when you get the answer, you're like, oh, I see. Those aha moments. Okay, I see. And those aha moments is what leads you in your life journey to find that purpose in your life, that's the purpose of why you're here. And so interviewing it gives you those breakthroughs. You know, it's breaking through the ice. You know, there's beautiful water underneath. And you didn't see that beautiful water underneath until you broke the ice. So it's being able to have those breakthrough moments. And then forgiveness. Forgiving yourself for holding it. Like what Cece was saying, all that energy you put into it to just hold it there, suppress it. All that energy that was debilitating your body. That's what I mean by being able to forgive.
Mhm.
Forgive yourself for doing that. At the moment, it made sense to do it. But when you're able to realize that there was no need to spend all that energy and time with that and how it was hurting you more, being able to slowly let it go and forgive yourself for that is a huge awakening for your body, for your spirit, for your soul. Finally, you've awoken from it. I call it like almost being under a spell. A spell was cast upon you. And when you get to that point where you're able to let that spell go, is that awakening, that forgiveness. And then, which leads to integration. Finding that self love for yourself, which is never ending. It's almost like education. You're always going to be looking for ways to learn more things. You're always going to be looking for ways to find more self love for yourself. It's never ending. You know, I'm full of love, but I could still receive more. It's just like money. It's energy. It's energy we need to be able to move and function. I need money to pay the bills. I need money to have fun for myself, to be able to purchase those things I so much want. It's the same energy as love. So that's another exercise that I would love to share with everyone. You know, whenever you find yourself like receiving all this money and you're like, oh, I don't deserve all that money. Yes, you do. Replace the word money with love. Does it make sense to say, oh, I don't deserve all that love? No, that makes no sense at all. I do deserve it. I deserve all that and more. Finding that self love and continuing it. Continue finding it. It's never ending. So that's the part of integration, being able to integrate all those experiences and get the positive charge out of it and being able to use it as your purpose of life to keep finding that self-love, that joy in life for yourself.
Again, to add on to what Rebecca said, that might be an indication of where you might have some work to do, where you can't state with confidence that I deserve all this love or I deserve all this money. Then that could give you clues to, okay, again, interview it, going back to the process. Why don't I have that? Why am I not in that place to say that I deserve to be self-love, to be self-worthy, to be fill in the blank?
Yeah.
Can I offer something else as well?
Yes.
So that was so beautifully said, Rebecca and JB. I just love that. And just a note on forgiveness is that forgiveness, most of us think about forgiveness as I have to forgive somebody else for what they did to me, right? And I'd like to offer a twist to that, because just as any kind of healing, like our doctors, our massage therapists, our therapists, all of them are helping us heal ourselves. They're catalysts. Just as that is, when we turn forgiveness around, instead of pointing it outward and point it inward. So self-forgiveness. It's not that you did anything wrong. That's the mindset to shift. Is forgiving yourself for having the experience.
Yeah.
So whatever that is. And once from my experience and from my clients' experience, once we get to a place of self-forgiveness for just having that experience, like I would never have wished myself to have the experience of being kidnapped and raped, or having childhood trauma or back injury or losing all my money, or I would not have asked for that. However, I had that experience, so I can forgive myself for doing it. And once I forgive myself, the need, in quotes, to forgive anybody else just falls away like rain. It just goes away, it dissolves. So I just wanted to offer that out as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the one thing I want to, like yourself, I want to clear that up with a lot of, because so many clients are like, I have to forgive this person, and it's like this big weight on them, and I'm like, why? No.
Yeah.
It's focus on yourself. We're here for you. It's
Yeah.
about you. And just like in the airplane, I always use that analogy. They always tell you, put your oxygen mask on yourself first. We as therapists, when we're working on clients, if I'm starting to feel all as an empath, all those things that person's going through, I'm not putting the oxygen mask on them first. It's me. Because what good am I as a therapist if I'm going to fall apart with you? I have to take care of me first to be able to take care of anyone around me. So it's very important to have that mindset within yourself. It sounds selfish, but it's not. You know, we've been told, oh, that's, you're being selfish, you're this, you need to do. No. Forget all that programming. It has some purpose, but not for everything. It's not cookie cut for everybody. You know, it's about you first to be able to find that purpose in your life and do what you're meant to do on this world. And that's what it's really about. So with that,
Could I recommend a couple of books?
yes.
So the first book that helped me through my early times, like in the 90s especially, is a book called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die by Carol Trueman. I can put these in the chat as well. And the other one is Waking the Tiger, Healing Trauma, the Innate Capacity to Transform Overwhelming Experiences by Peter Levine. And Peter Levine is the, I would call him like the father of somatic experiencing. That's the process of having the body release this trauma. But those two books really helped me out a lot. And I'm sure there's many other books that helped other people as well. But those are the two that I recommend to my clients when I start working with any kind of trauma, even if it's just like I had a car accident and my body's just shaking for days. That's a trauma.
Yeah.
So
Definitely come out for that Healing Trauma by Peter Levine book. That was one of the first books that kind of helped me along my process.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and we also just recently read another good one. It Didn't Start With You.
Yes.
Yeah, and that one's a really, I don't know, JB, if you could pull it up real quick. That book really is more for the people that are really wanting to know the science behind it. There's a lot
Mm.
of science behind it, and really this research and the studies that this person did to kind of like figure it out and put it in, in a different perspective of not so much spiritual, but you got to take away the background, my love. He always forgets about that. It makes things disappear instead of appear. And so, yeah, that book is very well written with science. It's very science based at first. And then it has you do all these exercises for you to pull out those patterns within your life that you all of a sudden you see these cycles, how it's being passed down to from generations in your family. And you realize like, oh, this is not even mine. Being able to be able to ground it and see it from a distance and realize that this was from your great grandmother or your grandmother or your mom's, and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm living this cycle, and then helping you to cut it. So that way for future generations, well, there's other things that they'll probably deal with, but at least we cut that cycle and not have like what we call that snowball effect. Where this, from this snowball, it's just like, woo, too much. So passing down things from generation to generation is a really good book. That really helped me see the cycle I was living and being able to find a way to cut that. I was like, oh, no, that's not going to continue. Especially me having a daughter, like, nope, got to find ways to cut that for her. Cut it out.
I mean,
So,
that's
yes,
that's huge to be able to come to the awareness to do, to like cut it out.
yeah,
And and it's that's huge. So if you can do that, and everybody, if we could all be able to put that trauma, and that the effects of the trauma that it has on our life back in the back burner, and heal it, and neutralize it,
yeah,
this literally this world would be a much better place.
yeah. And I
There'd be
think
no
that's
road rage.
ready for. I think that's what we're ready for. I mean, I see 2021 as that year of
Yes.
let's find ways to cut it out. I'm done with 2020. We're ready to move on to a whole different way of living. And so it's like, yeah, it's the year of transformation, shifting. I've been feeling that since I started this in October through my spiritual guys. They kept telling me, you got to get this started. We need to get everyone on board. It's almost like I've been given to build Noah's Ark and start collecting everyone. And let's go, guys. It's time to shift and transform.
Yeah.
So yes, I just wanted to emphasize I have the numbers here. I've been having them up in case anyone is going through anything at the moment and they need help ASAP. We have the mental health hotline, the domestic violence hotline, suicide prevention, and also sexual assault hotline. They are here. These numbers are, I've been posting them on my meetup, also on the events page on the Facebook. If you need help ASAP, please get it, and like,
And
Cece said, it's something that's going to take a while. It's not,
It's at your pace.
it's at your pace and it's okay.
the other thing I could suggest here too is that locally, every community has a resource for help,
Yes.
and to arm yourself with your local resources, as well as now the National Domestic Violence Hotline, Suicide Prevention, and National Sexual Assault Hotline. All of them know the resources that are in your area as well.
Yes.
If you need something right away, right, if you arm yourself with having that information, you're one step closer. and
Yeah.
they'll take calls about anything. Don't think you have to choose the right place, right? Because if they can't help you, they will take you to wherever you need to go. And I have a good friend for many years who was involved with the Bay Area Women Against Rape, BAWAR. And he said, it didn't matter, just call somebody. Even if you call the police station, say, I'm in trouble, who do I call? Okay, so don't hesitate. That's my message to all of you guys. Do not hesitate to call somebody.
Yes.
Reach out.
Reach out to us. Our information is on Facebook page. If you are on Meetup and you haven't joined our Facebook page, I highly suggest that all our information is there. CC's information, all my guest speakers information is there on the units tab. If you feel like you really just resonate more with either of us and really want to reach out to us, our information is there. You could reach out to us too, So with that, I just want to thank everyone. We're going to be going into the private session now to be able to answer any questions that anyone might have. If you are on Facebook Live, make sure to join in Zoom. You can still do that to be able to join into the private conversation and have we're going to have a deeper conversation. It's very helpful. So I highly suggest that. And again, see you all tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Thank you, everyone. And remember
Thank you.
to stay healthy and breathe intentionally.